about being students. For me, I do not qualify excellence based on academic gradings. And yes, some people might contest that, but for me, excellence is not academic gradings. Excellence is all round. It's it includes your attitude. For you to be an excellent person, meaning you have the right attitude, you have the right behavior, you're also open to feedback. You also have a mindset of growth. You also have a mindset of looking out for problems and trying to provide solutions to it. And the reason why I'm using the word not being tied to academic gradings is because in this part of the world where we are, a whole lot of the way people qualify excellence, most especially as a student or most especially as young people, is having a first class degree or having a second class upper degree. It's good, right? But as you evolve in life, you would come to understand that having a first class is very good because it makes you very attractive when you speak to people, when it gives you that entry, but it doesn't keep you there. What am I trying to say is if you begin to interact with me and I give you that opportunity to say, oh, you're a first class student, you're interacting with me, or come work in my company and all of that. And 6 months down the line, you give me a lackadaisical attitude towards work. I do not see that first class mindset in what you are pushing out, in your delivery, right? In the way you also engage your friends, your colleagues, and all. That already begins to show me that I don't want to use certain words, but maybe you're a good crammer in school, and you also had a very good relationship with your lecturers or with your course advisor, or I mean, certain things happen, but you were opportune to get it. Now, I am not disqualifying having a first class. It is a good to have, but one thing I would always say is that having God in everything you do is very key. Um, Maybe I would want to use a certain case study. I have somebody who studied electrical electronics engineering, first class, and all of that. In fact, right now he's gotten certain scholarships to go abroad. But when you ask me in 2 years, if you ask me about this person, I'm sorry, but I can't refer this person to any employment, gainful employment, because of the attitude, right? And as young people, there's a mindset called the mindset of ownership. I'm sure as Kingdom Addicts, each of you are your accountability partners. Do we understand that concept of being an accountability partner? And I think it is something you guys should begin to do. We're in pairs. How many are we here? Five on this, 10. And you begin to have accountability partners. Now, what does your accountability partner do? Your accountability partner begins to hold you accountable for every decision that you make, either positive, either negative. Now, as young people, I always say that life is beautiful because as teenagers or as youth, some people start on the same journey. Some people grow faster than their peers. Some people have experienced delays. And I'm giving a very classical example because as Kingdom Addicts, most of you would have finished secondary school at the same time, right? But not all of you graduated at the same time. Some people have moved ahead. Some people are experiencing delays. But it doesn't mean that I am going to use the person who has graduated as a benchmark for my own growth, right? Because I have my own pathway that God has said, oh, this is how I want you to move. And this is how I want you to move. I am focused. The person who has graduated is having the mindset of, oh, I'm a graduate. This is next thing in my life. I've gotten a fantastic job. I have my car and all of that. And the person who's way behind is also having the mindset to say, oh, I need to also accelerate my growth so that I can meet up with my peers. But the beauty about life is that certain delays are made just to construct your personality. And the reason why I'm saying it is because um, some people, maybe after secondary school, you are home for about 5 years, and in 5 years, you see your peers, they've gone out, they've had master's degrees, and they're in the place of employment. But does not necessarily define that those delays are setbacks, right, for you. Because sometimes those delays also begin to mold you to the person. It's like a springboard, right? We all know what a springboard is. Who doesn't know what a springboard is? So it's like a springboard to your next level. And once you begin to go into that next level, you're just accelerating. And then you find out that those years that you thought were very strong delays have now become the foundation of how you begin to see life and how you begin to see excellence, right? Because I always say, oftentimes, and maybe people say a hungry man is an angry man. or people give different idiomatic expressions of how they qualify certain people. But I want to state that because I made some notes just while I was in the car and just express certain things to everyone here. I want to talk about the concept of humility, right? It's something that even me myself, I am still on that journey. But I really would say that somebody who is humble finds favor in wherever you go. And I'm saying this confidently because somebody who wears the garments, I always use the word, you wear the garments of pride. If you're a proud person, people find it difficult working with you, right? People find it very difficult to say, oh, I want to engage this person because there is this mindset of, oh, I know it, I'm this, I'm that. Why would this person speak to me in a certain way? I have this. And sometimes it becomes a very interesting because people who are proud people do not even see themselves as proud, right? If you tell them to say, oh, you're proud, and they're like, oh, how am I proud? They don't even see it for themselves. And that's why I will go back again to the word accountability partner, right? And it's very important that you guys begin to you guys begin to have accountability partners because it begins to make to say, oh, Timile, the way I used to know you is not the way I know you, right? Certain things are beginning to change about you. Certain things are beginning. I'm like, this is not what we have promised God. And I'm saying this out of experience. So I had a friend. Um, he's been my friend since NYSC for over a decade now. And last year I gave him a contract to do. This is somebody that, to be honest, he hadn't made his first millions. And for me, I just felt, oh, okay, why? Let's help this person. And he made his first million, about 3 million plus. But very strongly did I begin to see certain changes in him. He wasn't saying it, but I was saying it. And for me, I was like, where is this coming from? Right? Where is this sudden change? Right? Oh, you've been earning about, I mean, he was earning less than 100,000 naira. And then you just, bam, you're hitting 3 million plus into your account. It's like a jamboree, right? And for me, I was in a space of 2 months. This is somebody I used to speak to. We used to speak every day, encourage and guide. This is what you should do, and all of that. And then you begin to see that social distance. Oh, I'm speaking to you maybe once in 2 weeks. Sometimes I'm even the one initiating the calls and also having conversation. But one thing really struck to say that sometimes there's this emotional maturity that comes with handling. I will use the word maybe handling money because sometimes and it's not an age thing, right? It is just about maybe I'll not use the word emotional maturity. Maybe it comes to you understanding the concept of humility and having the God minds, the God concept or the Christ concept. Because I always say that money comes and goes, positions and titles come and go. You're a director today does not mean you'll be a director forever. I always say three things takes you off your titles: one, death; two, bad health; three, resignation; fourth, maybe choices. And those titles you used to wear before automatically goes. Even our so-called presidents will not sit in those positions forever. Even if, I mean, some African presidents have been on those seats for over 30 years or 20 years, but something is inevitable, right? And that is what death. So if you hold on to those things, one thing will still take it off. So I think we should have that concept of humility in everything we do. Submissive to God. I think everyone here is familiar with that. I would not re-emphasize on that. And joyful contentment, right? So when I use the word joyful contentment, it's very important because this is the age where a whole lot of things are happening. I mean, you see your friend that is in his 20s already driving a, a Maserati or a Mercedes or a Lexus or anything. And in your head, you are just thinking to say, I need to also get this. But in your own way, you are happy and you're joyful with even the little that you have, right? Um, and there's nothing like going to bed with peace and nobody's chasing you. You're not thinking about anything. You just have this peace that you can sleep and wake up. And you're not thinking about, did you rob somebody? Is EFCC coming after you? Is ICPC coming after you? Is the Nigerian police coming after you? And there is just this peace that comes with what you have. So I want us to have that mindset, irrespective. Joyful contentment is good. You don't need to have what your neighbor has. Um, for those of you doing hospitality, for those of you doing a whole lot of things, I always say life is like a journey. I think some years back while I was in the University of Lagos, I didn't have a car, but my classmates had cars. right? But today, I look at those classmates that had cars. They don't even have cars anymore. I'm not even joking, right? They don't even have cars anymore. But again, I will just emphasize on joyful contentment. Another thing is fear of the Lord. I know we're all here because we have the fear of the Lord in us, and all. We should always have a mindset of growth, growing spiritually, growth in our careers, growth in health, growth in every ramifications of life. And the reason why I'm saying it is because you can have a friend that doesn't have a growth mindset. The person just wants that status quo. But you guys don't have friends like that. Who has friends like that? Okay. And the reason why I'm saying it is because whilst you're thinking, you're visionary, you are thinking about, oh, what can I do? What can I do differently? Oh, what can we do? Oh, and the person is like, oh, please, I beg, let's just leave things. Nigeria is Nigeria, right? Everybody will be fine. The government and the politicians are already stealing all the money. What contribution do I want to make? What change do I want to make? But it begins to make you understand the mindset of that friend. And is it our responsibility? I always say that the behaviors of adults are already formed and it's difficult to mold as opposed to a child, and you can easily mold the behavior of the child. The moment you begin to have somebody who has this passive aggression and does not have that mindset of growth, does not have that mindset of, oh, by the end of this year, this is what we should do. Oh, there's this problem. Oh, there's this problem of waste in our environment. How do we begin to think about recycling, right? Oh, how do we think about, oh, I think we can speak to some people, let's get baskets, let people dump their PET bottles in there. People, their factories around, they always have cartons. Let's begin to uptake these cartons. Oh, let's go and look for people who even buy these cartons. Do you guys know people make money out of these bottles and all of these things? So it's also, the reason why I'm saying is because I opened this statement with the definition of excellence and how it should not be defined to grading system. Because I'm very, I always say I love innovators because this is where I play now. You are seeing a problem, you're identifying that problem, you are collaborating with friends who also have a mindset of growth to problem solve, come up with solution, and as you come up with those solution, you are also thinking about, oh, um, who are the people to invest in what I'm doing? And the reason why I'm saying it is because you guys are not too old to become billionaires. Um, I was in Enugu about, I think, a month ago, and even last week, my colleague was coming in from Abuja, and there's a 22 years old boy that makes drones. Drones, 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 drones. You guys know drones, right? And he's just 22, and he's got an investment of about $200 million, right? And it just comes up from, oh, what's the problem I've identified within my immediate environment? And the reason why I'm saying is because you guys are young. I like to speak to young people nowadays because I just believe they're very full of ideas and they're very full of solutions that people in our own era did not think about. And you guys need to begin to have that grunt mindset of thinking about strategic problems, collaborate. I'm emphasizing on collaboration because I always say for you to really go far, you would go with people, with the right people. And so, for example, if I have a business and I'm thinking about something, I speak to two people I know in my life. I speak to them about it. We go for meetings. We think about the strategy around it. What are the financial models around this? Who are the investors we want to speak to? And all of that. It begins to shape your mind to say, oh, I'm thinking about it. For those of you even in universities, there are a lot of problems that you guys can come up with, right? There's a lot of theft in hostels, right? People steal clothes, people steal shoes, people steal slippers, and all of that. And I'm saying, oh, I think there's a better way for us to do this. And I'm going to speak to my hostel porter. And I'm saying, I think this is what we should do. This is a problem. It has become very high within the university premises. These are our solution. How can we install cameras at the hallway? How do we begin to get turnstiles, people who come into the hostel? How do we begin to get tags? If you're not a hostel person, you cannot just walk into the hostel. If you're inviting a friend into your room, you should have gotten a code for that your friend, and that before that friend comes into the hostel, the friend is telling the security at the post the code, right? Because you already have that code. So I mean, what I'm just trying to say overall is I want you guys to have a growth mindset, and you guys are not too young to become very successful people in the world. Um, sorry, any question for now because I don't want to be the only one talking. All right.
Talking about the collaboration. How do you handle a situation when you're collaborating with someone, you're at first, most of these things start off sweet. You have the idea, you share it, and you guys are already working on it together. Then all of a sudden, you start noticing a backslide and a nonchalant attitude and a delay in that delivery. How do you handle this kind of people? How do you handle that kind of situation?
So I actually think from a collaboration perspective, and I'll come about personalities, and this is where I spoke about um, people who do not have growth mindsets. If you have somebody, if I have an idea now, I don't push it to certain people, even if you're my very good, even if you're we roll, we speak. Again, I have a very close. My circle is not big; it's a very knitted circle. Um, for you, if you have an idea and you're sharing it with somebody, and you begin to have the feeling that this person is not buying into your idea or seeing that vision, I always say first of all, it starts with a vision. You have a vision that you want to achieve, and you're sharing that vision with somebody, and the person does not buy into it, it automatically tells you that you need somebody else to collaborate with. And that person does not necessarily have to be your friend, have to be your very close friend. It could be somebody very random that really keys into what you're doing. Some of the people I work with today are not even people that I was really close. I think I started, maybe I was part of something. Let me give a good example of myself. In 2019, where I had an old classmate that had an idea. He wanted to start an e-commerce business, something more of like what Jumia does and Konga. And he shared the idea with me, and I was like, oh, that's brilliant. And I said, well, what do we need to do? Let's get a full stack engineer to build the. You guys know what a full stack engineer is, right? So I'm not talking out of. Let's get. So a full stack engineer is an engineer that actually understands the front end and the back end of building. Actually, I'm into tech right now, so I really understand the tech language.
You've actually built the product, basically. And you're looking for people that will get you into doors. Because basically you don't know anybody. Like you're nobody. You're just doing tech, you guys are building a startup, but you guys don't know like that. And you have with the grace of people you have introduced to people, and most of those people have told you they have just given you email. Sometimes just go and meet somebody, wait for like hours. The only thing you get from the thing is just the person's email. And when you send the person the prototype, the person not replying for like this thing. So what do you do in cases like that? And also part of regulations, sorry. Also part of regulations. You know that as you're building something, there's regulations. There are regulations and how to build regulations and all that. And probably you have somebody that could help you do that. But the person is just dribbling yours, trying to and your product, you are fully building your product, but you cannot launch it because without the proper regulations, government will come for you. So what do you do in those two cases, sir?
Okay, so first of all, is you need somebody to get you into the rooms where you can't go into. I will talk about the concept of influence and sponsor, right? You need for everything you do in life, you need a sponsor. And who is that sponsor? Sometimes your sponsor could come from people. So let me give a good example. You have a product, like you said, you want to grow that business, and you've been doing it fantastically well. Your sponsor begins to say, "Oh, Joseph, I need you to attend this event where investors, where you meet. I mean, in the tech world, you use angel investors, you use
PCBCs.
you use venture capitalists, and all of that. Now they are saying, "Oh, come into this event. You should be part of this." Just again for you to socialize with certain people and begin to build your network. That is what your sponsor will do. And then your sponsor also, whilst you're there, is saying, "Oh, this VC, this young man has a certain solution. I think you should have a meet with this person." Now, that is really what your sponsor does. Your sponsors take you from point one into point five or where you're going. Now, your influencer is somebody who would also influence some of the decisions you're making in your product development to say, "Oh, I don't think this market, this your product is fit for current market realities. I think you should do this. I think you should do that. I think you would have, once this product is out, it will fit maybe the manufacturing market, the agricultural sector, and certain sectors maybe you might not even be thinking about." And to say, "Oh, I think I have certain people I know. I know the managing director of so place. I know the chief marketing officer of so place. Oh, I think because that person has influence, that person, because of the name the person has, when you go into certain rooms and you're dropping that name, they automatically want to give you the audience that you require to listen to you." So I think it's important you have an influencer and also a sponsor. Okay, I think another point for us to note is generosity and love. And what I mean by generosity and love is about love that prioritizes serving others. Sometimes when people say generosity, it's sometimes people might look at it from a money perspective to say, "I have to bring out money." But you being generous to somebody can also mean you spending time with that person, you giving the person your time, and the person really having that conversation with you, sharing life experiences, and you giving that advice to that person. So generosity do not necessarily have to be like, "I have to give out money to this person." If you have, you can do that. But I mean, a generous person would always try to have very quality time and also enable that person grow. Say people who teach are even the most gainers than people who even receive. Um, if you have somebody who always wants to collect, sometimes I laugh because at the end of the day, you have the mindset of always collecting and you do not have the mindset of giving. People who are giving are always thinking about ways in which God can enable them, God can enrich them more. God should open more doors for them to be able to give, as opposed to always be at the receiving end. All right, so another pointer is also die to self. And what I mean die to self is saying no to fleshy and selfish desires. I always say naturally as humans, naturally we're selfish because and we need to always constantly remind ourselves, kill that spirit. I think Pastor Shay always emphasize that we're killing the flesh, not wanting to do what the flesh really wants, and just understanding that we need to always go with what Christ expects from us. I also would speak about active prayer life. I know as youth here, you guys are very good in praying, but I would say that as you grow in life or as you become more successful, uh, you begin to understand that you can't even do anything without praying. As a Christian, if that is what you're holding on to, I always say people have different things they hold on to. Some people are holding on to their gods, their demigods, right, that they worship. But as Christians, that's not what we hold on to. You begin to understand that there are a lot of challenges, and for you to overcome those challenges, you need to actively pray. Even as students, for you to even have your A's at the end of every academic session, you need to keep praying. Why are you praying? Because I think as a university student, one thing I always say is that, Father, the person marking my script at that time, at that moment that he's marking my script, Father, let him find whatever I've written. Let him find favor in his sight. Right? And to be very honest, those prayers go a long way. You might not know you finished an exam, but the marker of your script might have, maybe the person is married. If it's a man, maybe he has just finished fighting with his wife, or his wife has just made him angry, or his child has just done very annoying thing, or his house is on fire, or anything. Or maybe he has lost money, he entered bus and pickpocketed his money, right? And he gets home and he's sad. And the HOD is saying you have a deadline to submit all results into this thing, and that night he just decided to bring all his marking script and it's just marking. Do you understand? So sometimes you even look at your academic results, it's even based on the mood of the person. Right? I think as a when I was serving my NYSC, one of the decisions I made was that I wanted to be a teacher. My friends were like, of all things you say you want to do, you want to be a teacher. And I said yes. So I was first of all posted to Jigawa State, and I was there, and later I moved to Kaduna. So I was in Kaduna for a while, and then at the time there were the Matisani crisis, there were lots of issues in the north. The north was a bit porous, and the NYC at the time called our core members to say those who wanted to redeploy willingly. There was no connection, nothing. They just called us and said we needed to, for those who were interested, to redeploy. So I indicated interest and I filled in Lagos and Oyo. No, Ogun, I think Ogun and Oyo at the time. So my other friend filled Ogun because we know Lagos was in no way because we're already 7. Eventually I was posted to Oyo State. And getting to Oyo, I think I had 2 opportunities with the Ministry of Youth and Social Development, Ministry of Sports. At the time, I also was speaking to KPMG for internship and all of that. But one day I was just sitting in I don't know what they call it now, the NYSC Secretariat. And I was sitting beside my friend who was posted, redeployed from, I think, Kebbi at the time. And I said, we had all our letters of employment from these different entities. And we looked at ourselves to say, she asked me, she said, so where do you want to go to now? With all your academic prowess and all of that. I know, you want to go to ministry, you want to go to the private entity. And I said, no. And that somebody had told me that there's one school. It's called Ratibi College, and they need a teacher there. And I said, I also have a letter from the school. And she looked at me, she was like, really? Okay, since that's where you want to go to, can they also give me a letter? I was surprised. I was like, you want to follow me to the school? He said, yes, because I just think for you to make that type of decision would be a good decision. And I said, if I'm going into fire, you're wrong with me, fire. And to be very honest, I pulled about 5 of us, if not 6, and we all went into that school. Funny enough is that everybody had different letters that they had received from different entities. So I got into the school and I became a computer teacher. The other big lady became an English teacher and all of that. But we stayed in that school, and the school didn't have a chair. The students were not even willing to learn. When you're coming into class, they're running and jumping out of the window. So the first month was really frustrating, right? We had a couple of rape cases. There were a lot of there were no social norms. I'll use that word because, I mean, the principal would beat the girls for saying they were raped. And we're just like These people are going through emotional issues and you're beating them. So we became advocates, right, for a whole lot of social vices. And we began to, you're not supposed to scold these people. This is the people who have done wrong things. Why are you not scolding them? So she'll be like, oh, call members, mind your business. People are just here for you. And we will stand our ground. We'll come in as a force. See, this thing is total. So again, I looked at it at the end of our service year. We were able to correct certain things that were playing out. In fact, when these issues happen, they call the parents of the girls, they call the parents of the boys, and they settle the case amicably. Right? The parent of the boys will beg the parent of the girls to say, oh, sorry, blah, blah, blah. And then that's how the matters end. And for us, it was just, for me, it was very strange that young girls were going through this. There were no firm decisions around them. The boys saw it as normal. The girls saw it as normal. And everybody was living. So we began to correct a whole lot of things. And I began to thank God to say, oh, if I had gone to the private entity, meaning I would not have been able to deliver this change that I did in the school. So that was also an eye-opening for me to a whole lot of social problems, because I began to see a whole lot of issues that students in very rural communities were going through, the boys, the girls. And for them, it's like, I'm just coming to school. This education is not really for me. I have other things that are of interest to me. And you begin to, oh, maybe computer is really what you want to do, or English, or you want to be a teacher, you want to go for NC. But it was just a very good period of my life. And the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of us are also thinking about, oh, during our service year, we want to work in the oil companies and we want to do very great things. Discipline, I would also speak about discipline. Beyond casual reading to studying, meditating, and applying scriptures to everyday life, discipline is important for our growth. It cannot be overly emphasized, and I trust that everyone here is disciplined. We all have some level of discipline in us. One thing I would also make mention is mastery of speech. What I mean by mastery of speech is controlling the tongue, avoiding gossips, and using words to build up rather than tear down. I always say a lot of people who spend their time gossiping. So let me give a good example. Let me even use the hostel life. I didn't live in hostel, so sometimes I go to hostel back in the days and I see my friends, they have not had their baths. They sit down, they chat, they gossip and gossip about this lecturer, of how this lecturer has been bad, of how this lecturer is not good. And you're just thinking, or in the real world, you're gossiping about how this person is doing well or his business. I always say that rather than trying to tear down, try to understand the strategy behind this person's growth, right? Somebody is doing well in culinary, and you're trying to understand, oh, why is this person doing well? Rather than gossiping and trying to tear down, try to understand what is this person doing differently. And I think I've given very good examples here today of how having that grunt mindset, because have you understood that people who really have the grunt mindset barely have time to tear down others? Because the mindset is all about, I want to grow. What can we do better? If I'm sitting down with you, my time is my money, right? I will not sit down with you without getting value. Either I'm growing spiritually, rather I'm growing physically, I'm growing in all areas of my life. But it is all about value. Same thing, you have a sit-down time with a managing director. It's the same thing. Their time is their money. Rather than coming down to tear another person down. But again, I will come down to prayer. The world, as you grow, the world is like a pyramid. You know what a pyramid is, guy? Okay. When everybody is out of university, you guys, a lot of graduates, first class, 2-1, everybody come. You gainfully get an employment. Or you're in the creative space, everybody comes into content creating, whatever it is. But as you begin to grow, you begin to see that it becomes smaller, right? For you to become the best Nollywood actor, there are about 10 other actors, right? For you to be number one, meaning you have to compete with about 9 people for you to take that number one position. So you see that it's like a pyramid. And for you to maintain that top level, it's prayer, it's about humility, it's also understanding the fact that I can't grow anywhere in life without having God in everything I do. So on this note, I would stop here and I'm open to questions.
So you know how you mentioned talking about having like community, very important. So you know how we also when we are done with school or like that period before we finish school, we have to like structure a CV properly. You have to see yourself out there, okay, so how do you now LinkedIn, for example, you know how people speak on LinkedIn like how they talk about their accomplishments and the things they've done and everything. So how do you now do all that without being seen as proud?
Okay, so I want you to understand the concept of visibility and a persona. So there's a difference between my person and my persona. Do we understand that concept? A persona is something you want people to see, right? That is what a persona is. But my personality is different from my persona. My persona is I have, and I always say, right, I can describe you in, of course, when you're a graduate, I mean, you want to put yourself out there. But humility is your personality. What you're putting out there is your persona, right? I will give a good example. You're writing a CV. I do not expect somebody who has a first class to write, I graduated with a third class. That is even an integrity issue, right? I do not also expect somebody who has taken a whole lot of leadership positions, collaborated on certain things, not to put that out there, right? A whole lot of the things you see on LinkedIn is all about visibility and trying to build a personal brand, right? So you're building your personal brand, but in building your personal brand does not necessarily mean that you are proud. Do you understand? Talking about your accomplishments does not necessarily mean you're a proud person, right? You have your awards, you've attended conferences, you've been a speaker at conferences, you manage a multi-million-dollar business. Of course, you want the world to know about it. But your personality, who is your person? If I come to meet this person that runs a multi-million-dollar business, and I find out that this person is crass, right? This person is very, I can't even describe this person. It takes the word of mouth to spread your news. And there's what they call bad PR, right? The moment you begin to see, and as a banker, one of our biggest risks was reputational management. Reputational management, right? You do not want to be seen as a business that does not care about the community in which it operates. And what am I saying? Every business is in the business of serving the community, right? You do not want to be seen as a business that pollutes the environment or disrupts investors' funding, or does not give, when it's time for dividend payments, you're not able to pay your dividends, or you're also falsifying your reports, right? And giving very incredible data that are not credible, and you're pushing out those information, or you're greenwashing people, or you're just putting out a whole lot of things. And these things, when an audit is done, they find out that these things are actually false, right? So it's a reputational issue for most entities, and specific departments are actually created within the risk management functions that are specifically, this is their day-to-day role of handling reputation for the institution, right? From a communication perspective, they also have the responsibility to also push the brand, push the positive stories, create a brand identity for the institution. And that brand identity is because, oh, I know Wema Bank. Wema Bank, oh, their payment channel is fantastic. Oh, when I'm using their payment, oh, let me give a good example. Oh, OPay or Money Points. You want to make quick payments now that the money will not hang. I'll just use OPay and it will go immediately. As opposed to a bank that, oh, when I'm using, I will get this one. The payment, the person or that person has not received it for over 10 minutes. I'm at a fuel station. I'm trying to buy fuel. The person has not received it and all of that. So organizations also have that mindset of creating a positive brand story for themselves and also doing brand research for themselves. The Dangotes of this world, every institution, all the big institutions you see in Nigeria and also globally, have specific departments that are pushing the story of the institution positively, because at the end of the day, every negative story impacts the business negatively and could also lead to withdrawal of investors that has invested in that business. It's the same thing with a person, right? You have, and again, I'll still go back when I came up with the concept of excellence, that it is not defined by grading of how people have seen it, but by really the types of the problem that you solve and the solutions you create. Because you see people to say, oh, I have a first class degree from the University of Nigeria. I've held leadership roles. I've done this, I've done that. And I ask you a simple question to say, in all of these things that you have done, how did you collaborate with people? I'm trying to understand your mindset of teamwork and how you can work with teams, right? And if you say you have been doing all of these things all yourself, then it begins to show me that you somewhat in the future, because we have different leaders. We have authoritarian leaders, we have liberal leaders, we have laissez-faire leaders. I mean, there are lots of leadership styles. It begins to show me the type of leadership style that you have, right? Does that leadership style fit into my current business? Maybe. If it doesn't, do you understand? So you should, as a fresh graduate, put yourself out there positively. I would always say, do not have an exaggerated fact about yourself, because at the end of the day, to come back to you. And when it comes back to you, to come back to you negatively. It's like you telling the world, I think I say these things on Instagram, oh, I speak French. And then you go into an interview and invite a French person and you're trying to have a conversation with the person and you're not able to have very smooth conversation. But on your CV, you say you know how to speak French and you write French. Right? So, I mean, in as much as you're trying to put a whole lot of things out, exaggerated facts are not encouraged.
personality. Like you said, it's not personal. Sorry, you said it's a personality thing, right? So my question is, how do you like? I'm trying to say one question in my head. But how do you like show your value without actually downplaying your skills? Or what you can do?
Okay, so how you show? I just think for me, it's maybe humility is not about showing, because I think when, so I use this word some most of the time. I say this person is just every. So sometimes when I get um when I'm in certain mode, I just like all of these things you guys have done is just jamboree to me. And I use that word jamboree because I'm like, what were you people thinking when you came up with all of these things? Now they're trying to impress, right? They're trying to show. But was it carefully thought through? No. In as much as you want to be humble, and I firmly said that you need to know when to be firm, when to say yes, when to say no. And the reason why I'm saying is about you downplaying. Because you being humble does not necessarily mean that you have to be nice. I always say I'm not a nice person, right? Because I'll basically show you kindness as opposed to being nice. Because for every time I want to be nice to you and try to please you, I will not please you. I always say, in the beginning of my career, I got it very hard. And the reason why I say I got it very hard is because I worked with very tough bosses, giving me very tight deadlines. Just say, oh, the MD needs this, and we need it by tomorrow morning. And this person is just telling me by 8 p.m. in the night, and is carrying her bag and leaving the office. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? You want me to be up all night? And next day you're coming back to say, oh, we need this strategy and all of that. And you're having this conversation in your boss's car, and your boss is driving off, and you're just going back upstairs. You wanted to go upstairs to go home, just carry your bag and go home, but your boss needs that presentation by tomorrow morning. But all of these things were really building blocks um, for the next phase of your life, because it begins to build that tenacity in you. It begins to build that mindset of thinking outside the box. And don't get me wrong, though. Sometimes people see it to say, this person is wicked. This woman is wicked. To be honest, I mean, in the corporate world, they will just define you as being a crazy boss, being very narcissist. I think that's what a whole lot of people use now. So you want to be able to say, whatever thing I'm spending on has to be valuable to me. I will not just be spending anyhow. I should have some benefits. I should have some savings. If I'm putting 1 naira into something, it should be something what, wow, it should be of value, right? If I'm saving 5,000 naira monthly, it should be in a savings account that is reading me interest. Or I'm also looking at, oh, I want to be able to save maybe up to 100,000 naira and put it in a fixed deposit that gives me an interest. Sorry, I'm a very finance oriented person. That will give me an interest of maybe 2% interest on a monthly basis. That's 2,000 naira on my 100,000 naira, and continue to scale on that, right? So, okay, so my advice is there are a couple of opportunities online. There's the Amazon Web Series, the AWS. There's a cloud computing program that AWS does, Amazon. It's actually online. That would also help you in enhancing your cloud computing skills. For the second pointer, where you also spoke about building your startups, I also think there are a lot of online business skills. I think the world is very online now. There's really nothing you, and then begin to understand concepts around financial modeling and business valuation. Because for a startup, it's also on you to have that mindset of valuation of over the next 2 years, I'm building a product. This is what my target is from a financial model perspective. How do I get the funding to raise? This is where your social networking comes in. Social network. So you want to be intentional about looking out for tech events that you want to participate in, like the Omniverse. I don't know if you know the Omniverse Summit, like the TechCrunch. So there are a couple of tech events that you want to start going for, and also being part of. There's also the Innovation Startup Network (ISN). You also want to be a part of that network where you have a lot of startups that are going through incubation programs and understanding how startup really runs, and also connecting them with angel investors. Maybe not VCs now because you are not yet. You need to at least grow your financials to about 500 million for any VC to start listening to you, and all. So you also need to start, and gradually you're growing, speaking to angel investors, people who just believe in your ideas. I mean, that ecosystem would also really help you. And then for you, you also need to start. I'm sure you have a bank account today. You also need to be intentional about your savings. If you save up to 100,000, my advice is that you also fix it. You also have a fixed deposit. You also have a fixed deposit account. Fix that money. Just know your 100,000 is static. You fix it for 3 months, and you're looking at it, even though you want to touch it, but the bank will not allow you to touch it. So I mean, and that's why I'm trying to understand you guys' priorities, and just to give my 2 cents on how. So I'm still waiting for your 2 pointers. Whilst you think, or your two priorities, you're giving me one. Huh? I didn't get that. Time management. Oh, time management. Aiming high. Timing. Okay, so that's one. The second one, you haven't thought about it. So I think for you, for time management, you're still a student. One of the priorities I would say is have a study time. Have time for. Now I know a lot of parents or some parents do not believe in this, but you need to get yourself more involved in. It's good you are here. Have time for God, but also engage in extracurricular activities because that also begins to build your social skills from a positive mindset. Oh, what sport do you play now? Okay, within school, are you part of like a STEM club or a STEAM club or an art club? Huh? Okay. So it's also very important that you become very active in some of these things. You have Girls Guide, Red Cross. So it's also good because I mean, when you talk about time management, being part of those clubs begins to hone your skills. You begin to hone your skills around taking up responsibilities. And when you know when you take up a responsibility, you begin to hold yourself accountable. For example, I'm in Jet Club, and they've told me that when next I'm coming into the meeting, I have to be the one to present on a topic. Even if I have all the whole assignments in this world, for the fact that on Tuesday, Jet Club time is 2 p.m., even if I have to be up all night on Monday or during the weekend, I'm saying 2 hours of my time, I need to speak to this uncle or auntie that will put me through. You begin to understand that your time is important. And if you've decided to play around on that day of your Jet Club and they're calling you to come and present, you don't want to look stupid in front of every of your classmates. So time management is even something that even adults struggle with. And it's even something that you will need to pray about. Because the spirit of procrastination and the spirit of slumber is everywhere. Because it's when you want to do something, that is when that magic sleep comes. And you will just sleep. Especially when you have an exam that you were supposed to read for. And you just say, oh, I just want to close my eye for 1 hour. Well, when next you open your eye, it's already 3 hours gone. Right? So that's you prayer. But we'll come back. I mean, I think time management it's something that even adults also struggle with.
First, I first prioritize maintaining my CGPA.
Okay.
It's just be like that. Because the second semester is semester of classes. There's everything going on. I'm very sure lecturers will just teach us for like 2 or 3 weeks and then 2 weeks to exam. And that's it. After like 13 or 14 weeks. So everything you're doing your own. So there's a lot going on. So that's like my first priority now, maintaining my CGPA. My second is
maintaining your CGPA from, are you on a first class now?
Second class
Papa, okay.
I can't get to first class in this.
So if you target a 5.0, you can't still make a first class.
No, it's just no. I can't. I can't.
So are you on a 4 points?
No, I'm 3.9.
If you have, so if you have a 5.0, so you're done with your first semester.
I don't know. It's not so I can't even.
Okay, I mean that's valid.
The second one is building a persona. I don't put myself out there, and then I really need to do that. I've started working towards that, just taking LinkedIn discounts. And the third one is getting a grant for my organization. We deal with turning what's called defining the definition of expertise. So we just want to change. We can make entities out of it. So our first project is going into communities that are filled with this condition and then educating young ones about it. So the plan right now is to get a grant and fund that project.
All right, thank you. So I will respond. First is around you maintaining your CGPA. I always say final year is one of the most challenging year in anyone's as a student, because I always say that is when the devil really comes to play. And I'll tell you why. You can be doing so well and you can be a first class student, and in your final year, just one result, you still graduate with a first class, but one result can make you come back the next year and still graduate with a first class. And what am I trying to say is, I gave something while I was speaking around, our scripts are determined by the mood of the marker, at that person who is marking that script at that time. Have I been a victim of it? Maybe. But again, on that day, I was just praying, because I was trying to, let me give myself as a good example. In my final year, second semester, I had a course I was reading and reading and reading. And the lecturer, they called for everybody to come into the hall. And you know, this one last minute, you want to open your book to just check, oh, what was it, this thing, those last minute things that you just open. And then me and my friend entered, and as I just wanted to enter, they said I should go back. And I was looking at, for good, that paper was a 2 hours, 30 minutes paper. For good 1 hour, I was standing outside. And for me, I was just like, goodness of God. I have fully prepared for this exam. What made me just say I want to open this chapter? It wouldn't have made an impact in whatever I was going to. And I was begging, pleading, and this lecturer said no. I went to the other hall, looked at the other lecturer, trying to signal from outside. And at some point, I just kept on praying. I'm like, Father, just show me mercy. Not in my final year. Just one paper. And guess what? It's not like people that are seated inside and would even have the ins. But the fact that you did not even participate in the exam automatically makes you come back for the paper. So you need to hold God tightly in your final year. That's my advice. And then the second pointer to, I think the second point was around building a persona. So in building a persona, I think I always say build the right persona and forget the noise on social media. You can also use social media positively and leverage social media to even what you're doing in your business and create a narrative around what you're doing. So leverage your social media platform positively. Build a page, Instagram. I mean, you guys are even more tech savvy and social media savvy than a whole lot of us. And use that to build your brand. So people know you as you guys know the Aproko doctor. He started very young, just talking about health issues and all of that. So talk about recycling, talk about climate change, talk about environmental pollution, talk about the impact. Have conversations. You're within the university. Have what's this thing called Vox Pops with your colleague, your classmates. So say, oh, what do you think about climate? What do you think about SDG 13? Have you heard of the Sustainable Development Goals? Which of them resonates to you? I'm giving you ideas now. Which of them resonates with you? How do you think Unilag can be better? Or do you know that Unilag has, in fact, you can even begin to use your Unilag. Do you know Unilag has a recycling plant? What do you want to? So, I mean, those things, just create those things and begin to create content out of it. Post it, get your classmates to like your page, follow your page, and all of that, and begin to build that. It's a journey. And trust me, you begin to get that recognition that you really want. But thank you. Your submissions were great.
Not studying music as get more knowledge in which relation to music and singing. Then the second one is making more money in business, money over here. And then the third one, learning the new language, French. Like I started learning it, then at the point I stopped when I started pursuing research.
Excellent. I would also encourage that for music, you want to know more about that. Do you know about Muson? Muson? So I also think that there are also musical guys here, but also for where you have that community of musicians, orchestras, and all of that is at the Musan Center. So begin to intimate yourself and socialize yourself on how to get in there. And around your business, I think for me, I'll go back to the concept of humility. Anybody that sees a client or a vendor that is humble wants to work with that vendor, and also try to leverage social media in pushing out whatever you're selling. And the last pointer was French. Yes. So for French, I am sure you know Allion Francais. So for you to really have mastery of what you're doing, I think Allion Francais is a good pointer. But again, YouTube is also there, so continue to socialize yourself with YouTube. But thank you.
For me, three priorities around be more financial. So I'm taking some steps beginning of this year, and on some I've been consistent. That's like that's investments. I've begun to invest as a consistent with that. Even no matter how slow, like I have this amount I try to. So before the end of this year, I want to be like more financial this year. Two, I want to build myself. It's a bit relatable to what happened. So I realized that I have outgrown myself. Like I'm still, I'm still like I'm cool with them though. I realize that they cannot relate to some of the things I'm going to talk about.
Number Number one, being financially stable. It's also good that you've also started making some investments. I mean, I think the OPs of this world has also made the wallet system really good. You have a wallet and you just dump in and you're locking that money there. But outside the wallet, it's also good to begin to have. I don't know if you guys know Ajo, if they do that.
I use Piggyvest.
Piggyvest, okay.
And I also took Piggy Bank serious.
Okay.
I don't, it's not plenty. I just
So I mean, it's good. Whilst you are investing, I would also say that you also give to God. Now, I will tell you that, and the reason why I'm saying it is because it's a secret that most people do not understand. I think I got to understand it more in 20. So there was a year, let me give you a good example. There was a year I delayed my first fruit. And in that year, was it my first fruit? No, my tithe. In that year, something happened. Even in that month, in the month of August, I think I said I was going to push my tithe, I was going to pay it in September and all of that. But in August, the money I thought I was saving, or the money I thought I was going to receive from the investment I was making, when I received it, it made no sense to me anymore. And then I ran to God. I was like, God, but I've been doing everything. I don't miss my tithe. I actually said I was going to delay my tithe a bit, and I was not going to pay it. And then since that month, I don't pay it. Right? And the reason why I'm saying it is because in all of the things we're investing, I actually have a friend that says he does not believe in tithes. Right? And I'm like, even if you're receiving 30,000 naira, you should pay your tithe out of it. It's important. It's just about giving back to God. And when you tithe, you begin to tell God to say, God, this is really what I want. Or you begin to sow seeds. You begin to do a whole lot of things. It just helps you to connect and remind God that, God, even with the little you have given me, I'm giving back to you. So in as much as you're investing, it's also very important that you remember that concept. The second thing is around the persona, right? Outgrowing friendship. So I'm always careful when I use outgrowing friendship because sometimes maybe we get to certain phase of life where we feel certain people are no longer of value to us. Maybe sometimes sometimes we're wrong, sometimes we're right. Because sometimes we find out that when we now go to that number 10 and we left those people that we thought we have outgrown, we come back to them. And the reason why I'm saying it is because circumstances will just bring you back to them. And they're now like, oh, but you left us. We thought you're not a big girl or you're not a big boy and all of that. So I would not say that you totally abandon friends, but I always say life is a journey. As we grow, let's also pull others with us, right? And make them understand that we're on a journey. Today, I think one of my close friends, he lives somewhere in Ikorodu, right? Does not even have a car. He's still struggling. He's still doing so many things. But I go to his one-room apartment some weekends to sleep. Like he just has one bed that he just puts on the ground in a shared bathroom and toilet. I leave my house in Lekki and just come to Surulere. So sometimes when you see me in Surulere, maybe I'm with him. And well, again, it just shows that sometimes maybe we do not outgrow friendship, or maybe we want to chase certain dreams. We want to chase certain priorities that you just want to focus at that period to say, you know what, I want to get this. And guys, it's not like I'm totally off. Sometimes I tell my friends to say, oh, guys, I'm not reachable for the next 3 months or the next 1 month. I'm like, hey, I've started again. And they'll be calling me, but I'm not answering because I'm trying to focus on certain things I want to achieve. But after that 1 month, I'm the one calling back to say, I told you guys, I gave you guys heads up that this is what I wanted to do. So I think we should be able to create a balance. Balance is important. You don't want to come off wrongly to people who, because I always say in every friendship, there are the positives and there are the negatives. Even when you are moving to that next phase, you'll now even find out that the people who you thought were not at you've outgrown, were even better off than the people you are now at the same pedestal with. Because those ones are becoming, I always say, the more successful you are, the more, I don't want to use certain words, but people who are people have a mindset of, it's like somebody going to the battlefield. We all know the Darwinian theory. Survival of the fittest. Charles Darwin. We all did biology, right?
I mean, being there and knowing it. I don't like that subject.
Okay, so Charles Darwin says that survival of the fittest, right? So you want to survive. And in surviving, People create different ways for survival, right? And when you are, I mentioned a pyramid, that life is like a pyramid. The more you grow, the more the opportunities become smaller. And for you to get into those rooms, there are about 100 people standing outside, and you want to be able to show that you're the right person to fit into that room, right? It's the same way with the CEO of a banking institution. For him to become the CEO, there are other people that want to become the CEO. You want to buy a bank, there are other people that want to buy that same bank, but you want to be able to prove that you're the best fit and you're the best person to buy up that institution. So it becomes you're going, somebody throws you into the forest with animals and you need to fight your way out. But before, when you were not in the forest, you were good, right? So that's how phases of life, and you just find yourself. But I do not think you just need to be able to create that balance. And for about your health, I always say health is priority. A healthy mind, a healthy self. You need to be healthy before you do anything. Irrespective, you want to do this, you want to do that. If you're not healthy, how will you achieve it? Please prioritize your health. It's very important.